Good morning. Welcome to Center Pointe Community Church. We are live, by the way. Don't have many people in here, but we're coming to you live for the very first time. What you may not have known or remembered is that we've always been recording, and we've been about a week ahead, and so I've been thrown off all the time. But anyway, so this is the real deal. Today is the 20th, and so we're rocking and rolling. A couple of announcements, and then I'm going to pray for us, and we're going to jump right into the message. So you won't have worship this morning. We're still working on stuff, so give us some grace. We won't have graphics, so go ahead and grab your Bible now. We're going to be in Genesis, so I need you to be able to follow along with me. Get you a pen, because you're going to need to take some notes. You're not going to have visuals to remember. Take notes. If you ain't taking no notes, ain't nothing going home, except that you're already home. So all this is weird. So we're live. We're close. Again, we're closer than ever than to being in here. And I'm still looking way up at y'all, because y'all are out of the way now. And so we're excited about that. We had an inspection 2 days ago. We sent out an email about that, so we thank you for praying about that. It did go incredibly well. Our system functioned well. There's just a couple minor details we got to work on, and so there's just one big inspection left. So we're hoping in a couple of weeks that that'll happen, and I'm trying to find a place to focus in here. So hoping that that'll happen in a couple of weeks. So continue to pray. So we thank you for being a part of that. We hope that you feel like you've been a part of that as well through these emails. Last two things, because we're getting close, there's not a lot of inspection stuff for us to do, but there's just punch list stuff for us to do. So if you've ever built a house, you understand there's just more and more stuff that just continues to have to be done, painting and touching up and cleaning and all this. We've also been given a green light that we can start moving stuff back in here. And so a lot of y'all were a part of moving stuff out of here. We appreciate that. Man, we had a ton of help. We need all of y'all back again so we can start getting stuff back in here. There's going to be work days for the next 4 weeks, so we can be moving stuff in here anytime. But this coming week, let's try to put a push on that so we can get some of our stuff back in here and get rooms set up. We're just getting so dang close. The last thing is our Amazon wish list. Again, you guys have just been incredible at knocking this list out. We keep putting stuff on there that we've needed for the children's classes. A lot of it was got to stuff. Some of it was want to stuff. We try to clarify that for you. Hey, can y'all move over there? That's good. But we're adding more stuff to it. It's like, unless you want to go hunt for your paper towels, we need a paper towel dispenser. I mean, it's just silly, stupid stuff like that, right? So we're going to be adding stuff on there to all that. It's got to be had anyway, and some of you are able to, afford, $10 or $20 or whatever. Some of you can do $200 or whatever works out for you. You've got an opportunity to go on there, and we'll get if you have had trouble finding that, we'll get an email sent out again with all that on it. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all are really good, my beautiful audience of two. We'll tell y'all when y'all can start coming back in here, but again, the soft opening won't be till after we get our CO. All right. Ready to pray? All right. Let's pray. Lord, in Jesus' name, we thank you for today. It's a cool day for us. It's a cool day in the life of our church, and that we're just another step closer to being live, to being able to gather live in the flesh, to be able to, what I'm looking forward to, worship live, corporately in this place. I'm jacked up about that, Lord. So make it happen. We know that your timing is perfect. We know you are doing stuff in the middle of all of it. And we know that you've been doing stuff in the middle of this crisis as well. So as we are going through our series of Better For It, Lord, I pray that you'll help us to see exactly what we need to do to be better for it, how we need to respond to be better for it, and particularly today, how do we respond to a crisis, any crisis in our life, whether it's today or it happens tomorrow, or quite honestly, if it's happened a couple of decades ago. How can we learn to respond rightly? So, God, teach us today. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. So, no worship. We're jumping into the message. We are in number 2 in this 3-part series called Better For It. and particularly today's message is called How to Respond to a Crisis. Now, the cool thing is they do kind of build on each other, but there can be some standalone stuff. If you missed last week's, number one, it's okay. We just kind of prepped you for everything, and you really only got one scripture anyway. But it was a lot of truth, a lot of realizations in there that we learned. We got read some quotes from C.S. Lewis. So that kind of prepped us for this thing today. Today we're going to learn a story. And when I get to that story, I don't want y'all to jump ahead because a lot of you already know the story, so I don't want you to jump to the end. We've got to look at it piece by piece to see how we are supposed to respond in crises. We talked last week about how it'd be a shame to go through all of this pain and not gain something from it, not carry something forward out of all of it. We asked a couple of questions, just kind of open the thing up. One was, what could we have been doing all along that we hadn't been doing? What should we start doing that we didn't do, that if we had been doing, we'd have been better off for? Does that make sense? I know it's kind of wordy. What were we doing that almost led to our undoing? We asked you to ask those questions in a couple of different areas. One of them was the area of your finances. So financially, what were we doing that almost led to our undoing during this crisis? That was a little hard one. Kind of some moments that we had. So again, go back and look at that. We also asked you to look at the area of your relationships. Is there something that you were doing in your relationships that seemed to get amplified in the middle of the crisis? Things got worse. Maybe you didn't have a great relationship with your kids, and now because of the whole shutdown or you having to work from home, you're with your kids a lot more. It's like, now it's even more strained. Did you learn some things? Again, what do we need to stop doing that we've been doing that almost messed up some relationships? Or did we learn something? What did I need to start doing? I know I might not have some common ground with him or with her or with them or whoever, but do I need to start doing something? So again, to go through all of this and just go back to normal would just be it'd be a shame. I know we want some normalcy, and I desperately want some normalcy, and I thrive on routine and a little bit of rhythm, but man, we don't need to go back to exactly how it was. We haven't learned anything. That would just be a terrible shame. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper. It's going to get harder, I think, and we are just going to go a little bit deeper. Just wanting things to get better, intending for them to get better doesn't lead to anything. That we've got to take some action. And the action that it's going to take on our part is learning how to, as I teased last week, deploy your superpower. The cool thing is, we've all got a superpower. We've all got a superpower, regardless of your age or your race or your sex or your socioeconomic status. We've all got a superpower. That superpower is an inborn ability. An inborn ability that empowers you and I to be better for anything that comes our way. I'll tell you what it is in a minute, but I'm just teasing you a little bit. It's an ability that you came from the factory with, yet it's not natural, but it empowers you to be better for anything that comes your way or anything that came your way. Even think about decades ago. I know what they did, what he did, she did, whatever was horrible, should never have happened, should never happen to anybody. And you aren't better for it yet. Is there something you can do? And I'm telling you, and this is a big promise. I'm telling you that if you do this, if you pull out your superpower, so to speak, and deploy it, you can be better for it. So there's your big promise for today. We don't have control of what comes our way. We don't always, have control of what he does, she does, they do. But we do have control over how we respond to it, how we, the choices we make. We didn't choose the pandemic. You might even call it a plandemic. You didn't choose it. Somebody else chose it. I don't know. You might be a conspiracy theorist. But it's here. It came anyway. It chose you, or they chose you, however you want to look at it. It wasn't you, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can choose what you're going to do in light of this new situation that we're in. So, And this is where your superpower comes in. And it's really cool. And again, we've all got it. It gives us this, it gives you and I, when we deploy it, it gives us the ability to take bad things and turn them into some right things. It gives us the ability to take maybe even some evil things and turn them into some good things. I mean, that is huge, right? But it's got the ability to do that. Even things that with evil intention, it has the ability to turn into something good. So, but again, I told you, it's not natural. And it's easy to lose sight of the fact that you've got this, that you could whip it out, that you could do it. It's easy to lose sight of it in the middle of it. But I'm going to tell you, if you lose sight of it, you will become a victim. If you forget to use your superpower, you will become a victim. But if you use it, you will be better for it. So, what's your superpower? Your superpower is respondability. Well, there it is. It's respondability. It's the ability that you have this in you from the factory. If you're a Christian, we believe that God gave us this from the get-go, this ability to respond, this ability to make choices, to choose how to respond and not just react. Reacting is natural. Responding well is not natural, but it is an ability that you and I have. So, choose to respond rather than just to react. Choose to respond rather than have, things dictated to you by your circumstances. That has happened to me. That has happened to you. And we can choose to be different. I think you know this because you've seen it true in your life. You've certainly seen it true in other people's lives. Reacting just causes you and I to be a reflection of the things that we don't like. Reacting causes me and you to be a reflection of the people that, I don't want to say the people we don't like, the people that we don't respect, right? It's like, oh, I was that guy or I was that girl. Man, why did I do that? We did that because we forgot to use our superpower, our respondability. We can do this. Just don't lose sight of it. Listen, a right response has the power to redeem pain and suffering. Man, I want you to catch this. And I want you to catch this because it's not just this pandemic, but whatever pandemic you went through. Or, man, I am learning more and more about people. And the more and more you allow me to get to know you, the more and more I realize, man, people have been hurt. People hurt people. Hurt people. So, man, so I don't care how long ago it was. I don't care how old you are. We can still choose today to have a different response to the things that happened decades ago, and we can still be better for it even though that was a lifetime ago. You and I, we can do this, okay? And it's got the power to even reverse the course of a life. Huge. And our story today is going to prove all this. So your superpower is why you can be better for it. Everything hinges on that. So again, that's a big promise. But here's the catch. And I've told you this. Your superpower is the response that has the potential to reverse the natural course of things is not natural. Your response that has the ability to redeem pain and suffering, has the ability to change the course, to turn it in a whole different direction. It's not natural, so it's going to be hard. You're going to have to be intentional. We'll call it a catalytic response, a response that we have the ability to make. That's your superpower. Has the ability to change a whole stream of things. It's a catalyst. Your one decision can be a catalyst for a whole bunch of cool, awesome, life-altering things happening, right? But that catalytic response is the least intuitive. That's a shame, isn't it? Which is why it's a superpower. It's just kind of under the surface, and you got to decide that you're going to whip it out and you're going to use it on whatever circumstances are coming your way. Man, as Christ followers, if you're a Christian, the history of our faith is full of men and women that made catalytic decisions. that changed the course of their lives and other people's lives, and really history as we read these stories, and that to get us to where we are today. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And at the very center of our faith is a man who surrendered to his enemies, a man who refused to defend himself, a man who chose not to save himself, and in doing so saved the world, saved me, saved you. One decision that he made, his superpower. And what's incredible is our Savior's superpower, he gave to us, and he gave it to us from birth. We get to choose. We get to decide. We don't have to just react. So never ever underestimate the power of a measured response. The power, the awesomeness that's in my stopping, thinking through what I'm going to say, thinking through what I'm going to do, and then responding in that way and not simply reacting. Man, when I have gotten myself in the most trouble in life is when I just react. Somebody says something, somebody does something, and it kind of gets all up, and then I just, I respond. I have the potential to respond poorly. I most often respond poorly. And I shared with my small group a couple weeks ago how I responded poor. I did a wrong thing, and somebody reacted. I can't tell you the whole story because it would be really bad, and we don't have time. Somebody came out, saw me doing the wrong thing, and crawled all over me about it. Well, that just got all over me, right? So I responded poorly. I could have responded poorer, and I didn't, so that was a good thing. I chose to walk away, which is better than what I wanted to do, but it was a bad response. I had to apologize for it. I had to pay for it. If I had chose to stop, measure my response, and then give a response, which should have been apologizing, should have been over and over and over again for this particular individual. Anyway, just don't underestimate it. You have made enough reaction decisions, so choose a measured response. That's all I'm saying. So there's another biblical character we're going to look at today, not just our Savior, but so going way back, about 2,000 years before Jesus came on the scene. There's a biblical character, not going to tell you who he is yet. He is in Genesis, and he made a series of catalytic decisions, a series of decisions that saved him, that saved a nation, and that ultimately saved all of us. So I'm telling you again, do not underestimate the power of a measured response or a series of measured responses. So for 20 years, this cat had to keep on making measured responses, keep on pulling his superpower out, keep on responding the way he should. So that respondability that we all have. His story's conclusion just kind of illustrates the power, the life-saving power, the course-reversing power, maybe just the sanity-saving power of a measured, faith-filled response. So the story, I told you not to rush to the end, but I'm going to start at the end with something that the hero says. This is in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. The hero makes a statement, just kind of winds this thing up, and he says, "You intended to harm me," and I need to just stop and tell you who the "you" is for a second. You was the crowd. The you were the older people. The you had seniority. The you who intended to harm me had the strength, had all of the power. The odds were in their favor. And quite honestly, as we see, they had evil in their heart. You intended to harm me, he says. But the you created circumstances in his life. And this, I got to set all this up because this is huge. The you in here created circumstances in his life that generally transforms victims into perpetrators. Think about that. You know of some situations like that. The you created circumstances in his life that quite often transforms innocent people into taking on the character of the guilty. And that's sad. That's what normally happens because of reactions. But not this time. This is the cool part. Not this time. I told my granddaughter 2 days ago, I ain't going to tell you why. We just started saying something. Not this time. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Maybe this is something we need to just start saying, right? Not this time. I'm not going to be a perpetrator. I might be the victim, but I'm not going to be the perpetrator. Something's going to happen. I'm innocent. I'm not going to take on your character. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. God's intention became a reality through one young man's decision to do things right, to do things, to respond in a right way, to think about his response. And so it's so incredible. Again, Genesis 50:20, you intended to harm me, but not this time, but God intended it for good. So that's the end of the story. God intended it for good. Something was going to happen. So let me give you a little bit of a context. I'm going to pull our screen in. So this is in lieu of a screen or whatever. So God came along about 2,000 years before Jesus and started a relationship with a cat named Abraham. One dude says, hey, Abraham, I'm going to make you a promise. I'm going to be your God. You're going to be my man. I am going to bless you. I'm going to knock your socks off. And through you, the whole world's going to be blessed. A nation is going to come out of you, right? So Abram was Abram. God changed his name to Abraham. He had a son named Isaac. Isaac eventually has a son named Jacob. And Jacob eventually has 12 sons. From a lot of women, that's a whole nother story. And one of his sons, this cat right here, his name is Joseph. Say Joseph. Very good. And he is this guy, all right? Joseph was the favorite son. I know a little bit about that. And his favorite son from the favorite wife. And again, that's another story for another day. So this nation was blessed. And so because of all these guys and this guy choosing and he's the hero of our story, choosing to make some right decisions, some measured decisions, choosing to respond instead of reacting. We get the whole the world changed through all of that. So Joseph's story is that he was the favorite. Jacob, his dad, would often send him out into the field to check on the other brothers while they were working, and he would come back and give a report on what's going on. You know, they didn't have cell phones, couldn't text, so Joseph was the cell phone and the text. And often he would come back and just give unfavorable reports on his brothers, right? And so his brothers just got a belly full of it, and you may have gotten a belly full of your younger siblings doing things to you as well. And so they decide that they're just going to do something with Joseph. They're going to take care of him. They're going to take him out of the picture altogether. And it's kind of crazy. So they decided next time he comes out, we're going to capture him, right? We're going to capture him. Maybe we're going to kill him, but that's not going to really gain them anything. They're not going to profit from him. So they decide to strip him of his clothes. They throw him down in a well, so down in this pit, and they make up a lie and tell their dad that he's dead. Some wild animals got him. So at 17, pay attention to that. It's going to be critical in a minute. 17, Joseph finds himself being taken advantage of by his older brothers, throwing him in the pit, half naked, left for dead. And this is where our story picks up. So can we do this? So this is Genesis chapter 37, verse 26. Judah, which wasn't the oldest, but he was this cat. He was like number 4. He's like the leader. Said to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill our brother? Not going to profit anything. What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. These slave traders were coming down the road. Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. So we shouldn't kill him. That ain't going to gain us anything. But if we sell him, we'll get a couple coins out of this thing, right? So Joseph was sold to slave traders. They lied to his dad about it, broke Jacob's heart. His favorite son been eaten by some wild animal. And Joseph's being trucked down to Egypt. So we're going to pick up a story in Genesis chapter 39, verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, so this guy was pretty prominent and pretty rich, he bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. Now we just got to stop for a second because think, I don't want you just to rush through it. This is good stuff. This is where Joseph's story may intersect with your story just a little bit. You know, nobody's looking for Joseph because everybody thinks he's dead except the 10 liars at the time. This cat came along later. His name was Ben. He came along later. So nobody's looking for Joseph and nobody's looking out for Joseph. Really. I mean, that's a hopeless and helpless situation that he finds himself in. At least it appears. Verse 2. The scriptures tells us that the Lord was with Joseph. Now, this might be a problem for you. It might pose a problem for maybe a version of faith that you grew up with or a version of faith that you heard something about because, you know, this is pain and suffering. This is pain and suffering in the world. Maybe it's because of pain and suffering in your family that caused you some real problems. We think that, well, if the Lord was with Joseph, he would have stayed safe at home, right? If the Lord was with Joseph, he wouldn't have got sold into slavery, would he? I mean, this is just what goes on. This is the assumption. The assumption is when God is with you, things work out for you. I'm not saying that's truth. I'm just saying that that is the assumption. If God's with me, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to go all right. And it's just not... It's not true. The truth is, I mean, Christians have never really believed that. As Scripture doesn't teach that. Certainly the New Testament doesn't even teach us that. So think about it. If you quit believing in a good God that never lets bad things happen to good people, then you quit believing in a God that never really existed. So this is good news, right? So bad things do happen to good people. Bad things happen to good people even when God is with them. I just want you to get some perspective and have a reality check. We live in a messed up world, a broken world where everybody's got free choice and everybody's got the decisions to do evil if they want to do evil. But we also all, even evil people, have an inborn ability to respond in a measured way. And as a Christian, respond in a measured, faith-filled way. You know, so God was with Joseph, but it didn't seem like luck was with Joseph. God was with Joseph, but it didn't seem like justice was with Joseph. God was with Joseph, but it didn't seem like prosperity was with Joseph. So again, if you have a hard time believing in that kind of God, well, it's good news because that's not the God of the Scriptures, and that's not the God of me. It wasn't the God of Joseph either. So Genesis 39, verse 2, again, it says, the Lord was with Joseph, and what Joseph did was to deploy his superpower. He chose a measured response to his circumstances, right? And he responded as if God was with him. Verse 2, so that he prospered. So that he prospered. Now don't read too much into that because Joseph himself didn't prosper personally. So that he prospered. Verse 3, when his master saw the Lord was with him, I just think that's cool. His master, who wasn't a believer in Joseph's God, yet saw that Joseph's God was with him, and I don't know how that was because things didn't look like they were going good for Joseph, but that manifested itself in some kind of way, and I think what it is, when his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, in Joseph's being a slave, in Joseph's having a master, Joseph chose a right response. He chose to respond as if God was with him, even though it didn't look or feel like God was with him. He chose to do that anyway, and God gave him success. Potiphar saw it in all that he did. This is just cool. This is awesome. Verse 4, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. So Potiphar puts Potiphar puts Joseph as his number one, puts him as his administrative assistant, if you will. Gave him control over everything. Now, in the moment, this sounds pretty good. So, wow, I get to be his number one, but he still has a master, right? So nobody born free, aspires to have favor in his master's eyes one day, right? Because that means you're a slave. I was born free and now I'm a slave. So it's just still not good for Joseph, even though sounds like it's kind of okay. Potiphar put him in charge of his whole household and entrusted to his care everything that he owned. Everything that he owned. Again, here's the gotcha, verse 5. The Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. I'm thinking, well, why not bless Joe? I mean, Joe's been making some right decisions along the way. He didn't choose what happened to him. He didn't choose to get thrown into it. He didn't choose none of this. But why not bless Joe? Why bless Potiphar through Joseph? Maybe one of the reasons is, remember the promise God made to Abraham? That all the people of the world are going to be blessed because of you, through you, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. I don't know. Just maybe it's one of the things that's working out. Joseph responded as if God was with him when it looked as if God had abandoned him. That is huge. Pay attention to that. Let that soak in a little bit. Because you and I get in the same situation, It doesn't feel like it, doesn't look like it. I'm doing the right thing and things aren't working out. But he responded as if God was with him when it looked as if God had abandoned him. Now, what makes this more amazing and more powerful, I guess, is that unlike us, you know what Joseph didn't have? Joseph didn't have a Bible. He didn't. He was being the Bible. He is in the Bible. He didn't have a Bible to read. He likely hadn't seen any miracles performed. I mean, his faith was simply based on stories that his dad told him, and that his granddad had told him, and that his great-granddad had told him or had been told to him about his great-granddad, right? I mean, this is crazy. So with all of that from his childhood, and remember, he's just how old? 17. I mean, he's a kid. No offense if you're 17, but he's still just a kid. And so that's just what brings us to this life-changing decision, life-changing question. How would someone in your circumstances respond if they were confident that God was with them? It's what Joseph did. Responded as if God was with him, even though it looked like it was helpless, even though it felt like it was hopeless, even though nobody was looking for him and nobody was looking out for him, he still responded. It's powerful. I'm shamed by the 17-year-old. Pretty incredible. If he can do it, you can do it. It's incredible. So how would somebody respond if they were confident that God was not just with them, but if they were confident that God was up to something, that He's doing something, that a story is being written? We talked about him being in the Bible. He's in the story, but what if the Bible was being written now and you were in, the history's still being written. If God is writing a story, what if you believed that? What would you do if you believed that God was with you? What would you do if you believed that God was writing a story and that things hinged on your decisions? How would you? So think about your circumstances right now, or the pandemic right now. Think about your financial situation right now, your relational situation, or think about that situation that caused you to be a victim however long ago. What would somebody in your circumstances, going through exactly what you're going through, do? What are the decisions that they would do, the responses that they would make if they believed that God was with them and that God was working something out? Your answer to that question is your invitation to exercise your superpower. Then choose to do that. Do whatever you filled in that blank, right? Again, never underestimate the power of a measured response. It has huge implications down the road. We just don't know and we can't see it. And I say this kind of thing all the time. Listen, you and I have no idea what hangs in the balance of you and I choosing to respond in a right way, choosing to respond rather than react. We've got no idea. I mean, our life, maybe the lives of people close to us, maybe our destiny, maybe our legacy is even what hangs in the balance. Yes, of one or two or three measured responses, right responses. I'm just telling you, it's huge. Now, situation for Joseph, if it wasn't bad enough, it gets a little bit more complicated. If we were watching this play out as a movie, the music would kind of even go more minor, dun, 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 whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like. So Genesis 39, verse 6. Now, Joseph was well built and handsome. Well, of course he was. He was 17, right? We can all get a little bit bitter about something. Joseph was well built and handsome, verse 7. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Now, what you and I need to understand is this wasn't an invitation. This wasn't, oh, come on. She wasn't begging. She was ordering. He was her property, right? It wasn't a request. Nobody says no to the queen. Or else, they get your head, right? Joseph was in a no-win situation. It would seem as if all this responding well, all these making right decisions were just a waste of time. It wasn't working. Like some of my people tell me, I prayed, but it didn't work. You're doing the right thing. It's not working. So what are you going to do? Are you going to bail? And I get it. Imagine. I imagine that he began to feel the way that we feel, the way that I feel sometimes when we've done everything right, and yet it's just not working out. So we ask ourselves the questions, right? Well, why do I even care? Why do I even bother? Why am I even trying, right? Things aren't working out. And I imagine Joseph saw that there was no potential for a good ending to this, okay, right? If he goes to bed with her, then there's going to be, he will have violated his conscience and violated what he believed his God wanted him to do, and he would ultimately be found out. He's going to be killed. If he said no to her, then that ain't going to end well either, right? So he ain't going to be better for it, no matter what he does. He may be dead for it, no matter what he does. So Joseph deploys his superpower, a measured response. Look what he says, Genesis 39, verse 8. But he refused. I don't know how long he thought about that, but he paused, and this is what I'm just getting you to do. Maybe just close your eyes, I have to do this. When I get really, really frustrated and I want to react badly, and I know that just is a catalyst for things going worse and worse, spiraling down, pausing, I just close my eyes, think for a moment, a measured response. Maybe if you're a Christ follower, you used to pray and you just kind of throw up a little quick prayer, Lord, help me know what to do, whatever it works for you, a measured response. And choose to go in that direction. Choose to make a right decision that can be a catalyst for more right decisions and be an opening or a doorway for God to come in and do something amazing. He refused. Verse 8. So he refused, and then here's his response. It's like a little speech. I don't know if it came to him in the moment or he kind of worked this up, but here's the speech. It's about 3 verses. With me in charge, he's telling the queen, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. You're asking me to go to bed with you. And what comes next is even more shocking. If that measured response wasn't good enough already, wasn't inspiring enough already, he just goes further. And again, he's 17 years old, and he's don't look like God's with him, and he just really he raises the bar on me and you, and he just goes higher, I believe. Verse 9. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? Now, me and Beth watch TV a lot, and so we got our recliners, side by side, and we watch a lot of things, and everything's recorded. You can pause anything right these days, but you don't get to pause life. Anyway, if we were watching this play out, we would both have hit the pause button, because then we just talk about it. Like, what the crap? Who does that? That is amazing, And why would somebody, so we just talk to each other about stuff, and then we pause and go back. So I'm pausing the story. This is us. Who does that? Why would he do that? Clearly doesn't seem like God's with him. He wasn't able to read the text going on at the time, and God was with Joseph, to know that God was with him, other than he chose. Man, this is why it's so inspirational. He chose to respond as if God was with him, even when it didn't seem like God was with him. Even when it seemed like not just God wasn't with him, but God had maybe turned his back on him, right? Because after all, the assumption is, a good God doesn't let bad things happen to good people. And he might have been a tattletale. And he might have been a bragger, but he didn't deserve all this, right? He just didn't deserve all this. Anyway, we'd also pause and say, Joseph's got a resume that don't look too good. If we wrote it out, Joseph Jacobson, kidnapped once, sold twice. Ain't looking good for you, Joe. It just don't. And the same God who hasn't done anything for you lately, that God, that's the God you're worried about, not wanting to offend, not wanting to sin against. Man, what a guy. Well, so the queen is now offended, right? Because nobody says no to the queen. She's probably shamed just a little bit. And Joseph denying her. So she accuses him of raping her. Think about this. He is accused of doing the very thing he refused to do. Crazy situation. Well, Potiphar hears about it and does the only thing that he can do, right? So Genesis 39, verse 20, Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. Joseph pays for the crime he avoided because he avoided it. That's just not right. That's just not right. And now he's got to update his resume, right? Joseph Jacobson, kidnapped once, sold twice, framed, imprisoned. Not looking good at all. Listen, bad things have been happening to good people for a long time. 2,000 years before Jesus, bad things happening to good people. Bad things happening to good people who a good God is with, right? Been going on forever. Now, we're going to pick up Joseph's story there next week. Yes, I'm going to leave him in prison it's just for a week. He was in there a lot longer than that, for a little bit, because here's what I want us to do. I just want us to think about this and what he did. I want us to think about some decisions that he made, and I want us to answer some questions. These are hard questions that are disturbing questions, but they can be liberating questions. And again, I don't know what all you're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know what all you're in the middle of your relationships, in the middle of your finances. I don't know. I do know that there's a lot of bad things have been done to you by evil people. And while you might not would say, I've been a good person and made good decisions all my life, I mean, you're a decent person. You made some decent decisions most of your life. We'll at least give you that, right? And yet this has happened to you. How can we have a course reversing? How can I gain through all of this pain? Is there any way I can gain through all this pain? The answer is yes. And the only way that you're going to be better for what has happened to you, or what is happening to you, or what's fixing to happen to you that you don't know. Life isn't rosy all my life, but something's right around the corner and you have no idea. I know this: nobody lives a rosy life their whole life. Sooner or later, crap happens because we're in a broken world. So whatever, how am I going to be better for it? It's only going to happen when we deploy our superpower, when we respond well, when we choose a measured response. So here's some questions. How would someone in my circumstances respond if they were confident God was with them? Right now, where you are, circumstances that you're in. So don't even personalize it right now. Just how would Joseph, if Joseph was able to come back, man, he was an incredible guy, right? So if he was able to come back, how would he respond in my circumstances? If he were confident now, just like he was back then, that God was with him. That's what I'm getting you to wrestle with and the answer. Your answer to that question, even if it's just what Joseph would do, your answer to that question is your invitation to deploy your superpower, to respond in that way. And that doesn't mean, whoa, things are going to automatically work out. Things may automatically get worse for you because it did for Joseph, right? But never underestimate the power of a measured, faith-filled response. We are no better than our responses, right? But our responses can make us better. Our making some right choices can make us better. Joe's story illustrated that we can be better because of our responses. And so I don't want us to, and I've said this for years, I don't ever want us to get through a crisis and just get through it. Man, all that, and all that, and on your face and before God, all of that hurt would be a shame if there was no gain from any of it. The only way we're going to gain, the only way we're going to get better, the only way that we're not going to stay bitter or get bitter is to get better, and that's only going to happen when we choose a measured response. Something happens or is happening, I don't know what you got to do. I close my eyes and I think, because I just got to shut everything out and shut everybody out, because people will offer you a lot of help. Oh, what you should do. I mean, even when I told my story, even when I told my story in my small group about what was happening to me, they were kind of like, oh yeah, I would have. And I'm not throwing them under the bus, but that's natural response. But we've got inside of us a gift from our Creator, which is the ability to choose how we're going to respond and not just react. So, close my eyes, shut everything out, shut everybody out. It's just a couple of seconds. I'm going to choose to respond like this and not react like how I want to. And I'm going to leave the results up to God. How would someone in your circumstances respond if they were confident God was with them? Listen, there was more going on in Joseph's life, and we're going to see it next week. Sorry, I've been pushing him out of the way. There was more going on in Joseph's life than we could have ever seen, that he could have ever seen. I mean, for all he was concerned, God had done left the building and left him to die. We think about jail and prison. I know a lot of you have been in jail, and a lot of you have even been in prison. 3 hots and a cot, where he was like in a dungeon. He might as well have just been in hell, right? So, just don't underestimate it. There's more going on in the story. And we get the privilege of looking back and seeing God work through all of that. And next week, stay tuned next week, and we'll find out what happened at the end of the story and what all God did. But just know that what's going on in your life right now, this crisis or whatever crisis is around, it's just a chapter. It's not the whole story. It's just not. There's more going on than meets the eye. So, encouragement. You've got a superpower. Use it. Your respondability, your ability to choose a measured response is your superpower. Use it and be better for it. Use it and be better for it. The people around you will be better for it. Your kids will be better for it. Your legacy will be better for it. Your destiny will be better for it. And who knows, perhaps the world could be better for it because of your right responses, your measured response. I hope that fuels you. I hope that encourages you and inspires you to make right decisions. It does me, a 17-year-old. Inspiring. A 17-year-old 4,000, holy smokes, man, that's like 4,000 years ago. Inspiring us today. I'm grateful. Can I just pray for us? Lord, I'm incredibly grateful that you preserved these scriptures for us, Lord, so that we can be inspired by them. And Lord, I choose to believe that they're real stories. This is history. It's just Hebrew history that you preserve for us, Lord. It's not fables. It's not fairy tales. It's just a maybe even a punk 17-year-old choosing to respond as if you were doing something. Lord, just help that to sink in on us. Lord, give us a moment. Help us to stop. Help us to pause and choose a measured response. Help us to maybe we just do bow up inside and, not today, not on my watch. Evil is not going to prevail. I'm going to choose a measured response, and I'm going to leave the results up to God. I'm going to leave the results up to the same God that did amazing things in and through a 17-year-old, I'm going to choose to act and respond as if that same God, the God of the universe, the God of all of history, the God of forever, is with me, working things out, working a plan out. Lord, help us to see every decision in our life like that. God, I'm inspired and I am motivated, and I pray that all of our hearers have chosen to be inspired and motivated as well. Lord, if there's anyone here that has not yet stepped across that line and chose to make you their God, like Joseph chose to make you his God, Lord, then I just want to model a prayer for them, and it's just something like this. It's not about the words. There's nothing magical about it. It's about what's taking place in your heart. You're choosing to surrender. You're choosing to go God's way and choose his will over your will. You're choosing to admit that you are a sinner in need of a Savior. Just say, dear Lord, I believe that you are, and I believe that you are who you say you are. I don't understand it all, but I'm choosing to believe that Jesus died a sacrificial death on the cross for me. And I'm admitting, Lord, I am a sinner in need of a Savior. So, Lord, forgive me. Lord, adopt me into your family. Teach me your ways and help me to make every decision and choose to make every decision as if it's a big deal and a big decision. Lord, help me to choose decisions that honor you and honor the people around me. Not making everybody happy around me, but honor you and honor them, and that will affect their lives as well. And you can just pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, if you pray that prayer, then you are part of his family. If you will continue to choose to make these right decisions, we will change the world. I do believe we're certainly going to change our families and our communities. So join me in the rest of this journey next week, part 3 in Better For It. And we'll look forward to being live with you, one step closer to being with you in here. Y'all have a fantastic Sunday afternoon. Thanks.